and welcome back. This is Thursday, May 7th, 2020, week number 8 of the coronavirus staying at home, social distancing, giving us the time to geek out and not do anything important. And I'm Johnny Tiger. You're here with me with Toys Thursday. And what is that in front of the camera? Is that a mutant chicken? Some kind of weird looking monster bird? Well, believe it or not, that is what people are saying that velociraptors supposed to look like. This here is one of the velociraptor figures created by the creative studio owned by David Silva. I'll turn him a little bit so you guys get a view. He's about, if I straighten him out, he would be about 12 inches from snout to the tip of his tail. You can see he's on some kind of a rocky base because he really doesn't stand very well on his own. Turning him around. Whoop. See what I mean? Just fell over. Uh, Here, we'll give you a view of the underbelly. That's a lot of claws. Now, as far as figures go, we are going to be talking more about it in a bit. But as its figures go, this is a very well articulated figure. This velociraptor is articulated as a jaw. Interestingly enough, even the tongue is articulated. Let me see if I can do this without breaking it. Tongue up, tongue down. The head, there's like two, maybe three. Yeah, there's like three joints in the neck alone, so you can get a lot of interesting poses out of the neck. You can look up, cock to the side, and of course turn left, right. See these feathers on the arm? Supposedly that's what they have. They have feathers like bird, and the arms are pretty well articulated as well as the shoulder, flap the wings like that, and then the elbow joint. It goes. Now the range is not very good on the elbow joint, and the hand. So there's three joints on each arm. The mid torso is articulated as well, although it doesn't really want to turn. So I'm not going to force it because this is rather expensive. So I'm not going to try to break him. The hip can clap his feet together, but it doesn't really go out to the side that far because as you can see, the side of the pelvis kind of butt up against the body. So it doesn't really open up that wide. The leg can extend like this, straighten or bend. And the interesting thing about this figure is the dew claw on the feet here. This is articulated. So this large claw that they use for their killing strike, this can either go down like that, go near the other two toes, or this can go up like that. And this is actually quite sharp. I just noticed that now. Almost pokes through the skin on my finger. So of course, this is really not a figure for children. This is more for adults who appreciate dinosaurs. Really long tail, it's bandy wires in it, and one articulation near the hip. And like I said, it comes with a little base that you can prop up on, like that. The joints are actually a little bit on the loose side, so it doesn't want to stay standing all the time, unfortunately. Uh, Let me move him a little bit closer to the camera. It also comes with a couple of little replacement feet, just in case you want the feet to be in different positions, but they're really small, so I'm not going to try to show them on the camera. In the last episode, I talked about how me and my younger brother determined what action figures we were going to shop for, what action figures we were going to buy. I also talked about that my younger brother was the main uh, helper when I was a teenager. When I wanted to look for action figures, he was the person who would go to the store with me and describe them to me. And I would make up my mind based on his description and his recommendation. And very, very rarely would he steer me wrong. Now, after I started living on my own, I moved away from my family when I was 17 years old and was not in contact with my younger brother or any of my brother. In fact, I started rebuilding my collection. Now, a lot of you who seen my past videos, I show off my action figures. You say, "Wow, you have a lot of action figures." I can tell you that when I was a teenager, my collection was maybe 3 times the size it is now. I had nearly 2,000 action figures at one point. Right now, I'm getting to about 550 points. It took me almost 20 years, actually exactly 20 years. It took me 20 years to rebuild about a quarter of my collection. Partly it's because I'm a lot more selective now, and I'm not going to go out and buy an action figure that I don't know about, or I'm not going to gamble with money as much as I did when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, it was easy because we got allowances from our parents. So if I spend $20 on an action figure this week and I don't like it, well, next week I get another $20. I can buy another one. But now, having to make money myself, work for a living, have to be a lot more selective and careful. But maybe the biggest part is I don't have such an easy time now to get action figures. Back then, all I had to do was say, "Hey Peter, let's go to the store and see what if they got anything new," and off we went. And usually we would find something cool. Nowadays, there are so many choices, and I don't have someone to describe things for me, so I can only go by the description listed on the merchant's website, which quite often is not all that adequate or even accurate. They don't list the size, the height, the weight of the figure. A lot of times they don't really give you an idea of what it's supposed to look like. Because of course they assume that everyone can see the pictures they post on there. Well, that doesn't work for me. So to get an action figure nowadays, I have to be really, 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 really sure that it's a figure that I probably want in my collection. And even with that kind of certainty, very often I end up with an action figure that disappoints me in one way or another. Because when it arrives, when I take it out of the box, it is not what I imagine it to be. For most of you who have vision, you look at a picture of an action figure, you look at a picture of a character, you look at a picture, you look at someone in movie, you have an idea of what you're getting. You already know what it looks like. So now you just need to know what it look like in action figure form or what it feels like in your hand. For me, every time I take a figure out of the box, it's a brand new surprise. Whoa, I didn't know Velociraptor is this scrawny. Uh, I didn't know that it feels that much like a big overgrown mutant chicken. I had in mind it's some kind of vicious, ferocious, impressive looking killer dinosaur, and it turned out to look like this. Of course, often when I get my collection, I want them to blend in with other characters in my collection. So this influenced me in a big way, whether I like the figure or not. So does this Velociraptor mix well with other characters in the collection? When we are making a decision on who matches up with whom, it's a good idea to use the most generic, most normal body type as a standard. This is to say that if I was to take Incredible Hulk and match this dinosaur up with it, yeah, it's going to make the dinosaur look really small, but that's normal because the Incredible Hulk is huge. So we want a more normal looking, more normal sized human action figures for us to use as a guideline. And you don't really get that much more normal than Will Smith, aka Deadshot from the Suicide Squad movie. Here, Will Smith is not really like a giant uh, beast of a man. He's like uh, tall but more medium average build, uh, muscular, but no, not nothing like Schwarzenegger was or um, uh, Hugh Jackman. Uh, so as you can see, we stand Deadshot, aka Will Smith, next to the Velociraptor, and yeah, the dinosaur just doesn't really look all that scary, does it? Standing behind, yeah, it's not really that big. If you take a comparison of Will Smith's arm comparing to the dinosaur's arm, dinosaur just seemed very scrawny, spindly. Seems like Will Smith here would be able to just put it in a headlock and break his neck. Now, of course, dinosaur enthusiasts know that velociraptors were really not that big, not like how they showed it in Jurassic Park. So this action figure, if anything, is actually too big. Uh, Technically, it should be another 2 or 3 inches smaller to be accurate, because regular velociraptors are only supposed to be as large as a large turkey. Now, standing next to uh, Will Smith, the figure, the dinosaur, is about the size of a really, really large dog. Maybe the size of a uh, bull mastiff. Now let us set this little guy back a little bit. because I got something else to show you guys. And that will take us to the main topic of today, which is what action figure is more expensive than others and how is that price determined? Look at that. Doesn't that just look a lot more impressive and dangerous? This here is the Endoraptor from the Jurassic World movie. Now, if we stand the two of them side by side, you can clearly see a big size difference. Velociraptor on the left, Endoraptor on the right. The Endoraptor just looks like it's 3 times the size of a Velociraptor. It has articulated hands, elbow, jaw, neck, legs. Look at those claws on this thing. Giving you a side view, behind view, and get a look at the tail, the back of this dinosaur. This Endoraptor. Now this is what I would call an impressive looking dinosaur figure. Now let's bring Will Smith back out and aha. Now how's that for comparison? Now we actually get something that looks dangerous beside a regular sized human figure. Look at the Will Smith's head in the Endoraptor's jaw. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I would call an impressive dinosaur. Um, Interestingly enough, and the main topic of the day, pricing. This little Velociraptor that I showed you guys first by Creative Beef Studio, uh, owned by David Silva. This little guy, who is beginning to annoy me because he keep wanting to tip over. Yeah, well, okay, that totally didn't work. Um, there we go. This little guy cost about $45. The Indoraptor, who is 3 times the size of it, cost $25. Now, if you think that's ridiculous, let me show you something that's even more ridiculous. Take a load of this. I have this one is so big I can carry him like a cat. This is a Mosasaurus, also from Jurassic World. The Mosasaurus and the Indoraptor were both made by Mattel. I don't think I even need to put this next to each other, and one dinosaur just committed suicide. We'll go fetching later. Give you a frontal view. I don't think you can even see the whole dinosaur. This thing's massive. Look at those teeth on this thing. Crazy. Crazy big dinosaur. This thing is about 3 feet long. Look at the details on the side, on the flippers. All these pebbly scales, the, the tail part, the tail section, the underbelly, the back view. As I said, that little velociraptor, let me get him from the floor. This little guy, 45 bucks. This Mosasaurus, 3 feet long, weighs probably 5 times as heavy as this little guy, 29 bucks. Isn't that crazy? Just look how small this is. This Velociraptor actually fit into the jaws of this guy, this Mosasaurus. Crunch. No more Velociraptor. How does this one compare to Will Smith? I don't think we even need to do it, but just for fun. That's how you compare to Will Smith. Will Smith is like one bite. Is a whole person just down the gullet of this beast. Standing doesn't even reach up to its head. Yeah, crazy, crazy big dinosaur. $29 for this Mosasaurus. Now, how does this work? Why is that Velociraptor so expensive and yet comparing to the Indoraptor, comparing to the Mosasaurus, so disappointing? Is it the brand? Is it the copyright? No. That Velociraptor has no brand. It's not from any particular movie or book. It's just David Silva's idea of a Velociraptor. The Mosasaurus and Indoraptor, they are both from very big name movie. They're from Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. They're made by a famous company, Mattel. So it's not a company, it's not a brand. And if you look at the size, it's definitely not a material. So what's gift? Why is that one so expensive and this two so much cheaper, and yet you seem to get so much more for your money? In the end, it really comes down to distribution for these action figures. The little Velociraptor being exclusive to Creative Beast Studio, you can only buy it from their website or a few other online distributors that carry their property, which means you can't just walk into Walmart or Target or Toys R Us uh, or any of those places and get one. It's more hard to acquire. Now the Indoraptor and the Mosasaurus here, you can actually get them at Walmart, Amazon, anywhere that you can find Mattel action figures. You can find these. So these are more available to the masses, which means they don't have to charge an arm and a leg for them. What does that mean to me as a collector? Nothing. All it really means to me is I opened up that little Velociraptor and I was sorely, sorely disappointed. So that, my friend, wraps it up for today's Toy Thursday. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for Fitness Friday, where we'll do some workout and get some sweat going. Thank you again. Take care. Stay strong. Stay safe.